Hey, welcome to Love Liberate. I'm Emilie, your host. I'm a self-leadership coach, embodiment teacher, artist, and an activist for love. Now, I don't mean the fluffy kind of love. I'm talking about the real, the raw, confronting kind of love, the kind that cracks you wide open and liberates you, creating a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Because that is what I believe life truly is about. So through personal stories and inspiring, soul-stirring conversations on all things healing, embodiment, and spirituality, I'll help you navigate the good, the bad, and the ugly with tangible tools, fresh perspectives, and of course, a truckload of love. Here's to loving and liberating, one heart at a time. Hey lovers, so happy to have you back here. In this episode, I'm going to take you on a deeply personal journey into embodiment and healing. So I'm sharing my story of eating disorders and depression and burnout and, well, losing the will to live basically, and then how I turned things around. So I'll share how I go from being put on a diet as a child at age 11 to completely losing myself in eating disorders, control, perfectionism, and then how I found my way back to my body, back to my truth, and back to my own home and authenticity. And I'm also going to share why it's so powerful to let your body lead instead of controlling it. So this is an honest, raw, and love-filled look at how movement can not only free your body, but also your heart and your mind. So if you've ever struggled with how you see yourself, or if you've ever longed to feel at home in your own skin, this episode is for you. A little disclaimer though, before we dive in, this episode contains personal stories about diet, eating disorder, mental health, including depression. And yeah, so if these topics are triggering for you, please listen with care or skip this one if that's needed. And if you need support, reach out to a trusted friend, a therapist, or local support line if you need it. And if you are looking to be guided on your journey, I'm also available for one-on-one coachings. So bear in mind that it might be triggering, so please listen with so much love, compassion, and softness for yourself. All right, let's dive into the episode. So my journey started actually way back when I was 11 years old. I remember having to go to a dietist, and I also remember not really understanding what the real problem actually was. But you're a kid, you have no agency in that sense. So I was put on a diet age 11. If you see photos of me age 11, it's disheartening. It's really sad because there's really nothing wrong with that little body. But that was the first signal that there was indeed something wrong with me. And so ever since then, actually, I've been on a diet, on some kind of diet, always watching my food, watching sugar, watching my belly, which was my main problem. And that's been a constant in my life. And then somewhere in my mid-20s, I had such an incredible heartbreak, but just like insane. It just threw me off entirely. I didn't know left and right anymore. And I couldn't eat. That was how sad I was. And because of the fact that I couldn't eat, I was losing weight so fast. And people were noticing it. And people were complimenting me and saying like, oh my God, you look amazing. Oh my God, what did you do? Did you lose weight? And I was starting to feel good. And it was something that, of course, I needed to heal something inside of me. But being confirmed and assured and loved by the way that I looked, I was like, but this is probably the best, not only revenge, let's be honest, but also this is the best way to be liked and loved and to be soothed and to find everything that I'm not finding inside. So I went full on into the not eating and over exercising, but like full on, like 2.0 full on. And it felt amazing. I got so much adrenaline. I got so much energy from it. I felt alive. I felt super sexy and beautiful because everybody was complimenting me. And then those compliments, they fueled my energy to keep going. And whenever I wanted to eat, I'd be like, do you want another compliment or do you want another pie? Meanwhile, though, I was having cold sores on the regular. I had super low resistance. I would feel super faint at very random moments. I would have lower blood pressure. I was also slowly but surely losing the will to live, actually. I stopped bleeding. I didn't have my period for a really long time. I had many signs telling me that there was also something wrong with me. But the affirmations from the outside world, they were so loud and so much more important than all the signals and the signs that were, drawing my attention on the inside, that I just kept swiping it under the rug. I was like, give me more of the affirmations, and the body's louder and louder and louder, and I would start getting panic attacks and feeling really a lot of anxiety, first just around food and around food situations, and there are quite a lot of them in a day in a social structure, but also anxiety, it just in general started kicking in more and more and more and more, and that was all going on in the background. But the facade looked absolutely amazing. As I'm retelling my story, I can hear how that is very self-destructive, but the problem with it is that because of the world kind of like rewarding me for what I was doing, the self-destruction felt like a good thing, but not only a good thing, also mandatory, because it was the first time that I felt so accepted and that I felt so loved and so recognized for being a woman and being desirable, which is when we're growing up in this society, usually that's what we associate being a woman with. It's with being desirable for men mainly. So all of a sudden, I felt amazing. I was obsessed with working out and with not eating. Everything in my life revolved around not eating and working out, or food and food intake and the way I looked and the way this pants or those shorts or those whatevers, how they fitted better and even better, and how clothes were starting to become too big for me and they would just like fall off of me, and I was just in seventh heaven. Obviously, inside, I had no idea what was going on because I was so profoundly disconnected from my body and so dissociated from my own true self. But because of the belonging that I felt on the outside and all the compliments that came from the outside world, I thought, this is how things are supposed to be. Like, it doesn't matter what I feel on the inside, because on the outside, things are finally going great. But I was on a very, very steep but slow descent to my rock bottom. But because of the world constantly complimenting me and kind of like in that sense cheering me on, I completely lost touch with whatever was inside, obsessed with the outside, you know? And so that was just like a few years of that. But then slowly but surely, I guess my environment started to pick things up, but they didn't have the tools or the capacity to deal with what was going on, obviously. But they did start to feel that things were shifting and that maybe my company wasn't super reliable or super pleasant all the time. And by company, I mean my presence. But me still, I had no idea of the person that I was actually being. I was only concerned with the, as Glennon Doyle always says, with the representative that I was showing to the world. And I tried to maintain that image best way I could, but obviously my close inner circle, they felt, I don't think she's all that well. Not because of the way I looked, but because of the way I behaved. But I was completely out of touch. I was completely out of touch. I had no idea what was going on inside of me. So I just kept on going. And I didn't see all the red flags, and I didn't notice all the ways that my friend tried to reach me. I was just blindly not eating and working out. That was just everything I did in a day, basically. And then slowly but surely, I started to notice that stuff was changing. My friendships and stuff was changing around me. And that awareness, by the way, it cost me a lot because like I said, I was obsessed. There was no way I could see what was going on around me, because the only thing that concerned me was the way that I was perceived by the world. So, at a certain point, my friends and everything around me had crumbled down to the point where I basically found myself pretty much alone. On top of that, I hadn't bled in 2 years. I hadn't had my period for 2 years, and I did had a thyroid thing going on, and my specialist, he was like, yeah, that's normal, comes with the thyroid issues. And I was also saying like, but I don't really feel very happy. I don't think I'm doing very well. Yeah. It's all part of the hormone thing. Take some more medicine. And I was like, wow, I don't think this is going very well. I went for a second opinion, and that was a female specialist. And she immediately said, well, if you haven't been bleeding for 2 years, whatever is going on in your body, it's not good. Let's do a full checkup. And as she came back with the results, I was sat in front of her. I'll never forget this moment. And she looks at her screen, and then she looks at me. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm starting to feel shaky because I can feel the seriousness of her and like the tension. So I'm starting to shake a little. I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean, doctor? She's like, these blood results, they are the same of an anorexia patient. Are you doing something to yourself? And even saying this, I can feel the emotion rise again. And she was the very first one to name it, to see it, to acknowledge it, and to call me out and to be like, darling. That's literally what she said. Not darling, by the way. But she said, if you ever want to have kids again, I can't even promise you that's going to be possible the way you are doing things right now. And I froze. I lost it. I was 31. And I had this entire life in front of me. And obviously I had this entire view, this idea of me being a mom and having a family. Like, part of the whole idea of me being as skinny as possible was to be able to attract a nice partner, to be loved and then create that family. The irony of it all, right? So I'm there and I'm just like bawling my eyes out because she said, I don't know whether we can reverse this. It looks like you're already in perimenopause, and if you are, then we can't go back. So she set up a protocol, sent me to a few other specialists. Long story short, I went to see, obviously, a new psychologist who was going to guide me through this as well. And I had no choice but to get better, because I was not gonna not have a family. And so that was the beginning of my healing journey with my body for real. And I remember at that time, I was already very, very into yoga with Adrian, because as I was losing my community, my friends, the life as I knew it, I needed some support somewhere. And I found yoga with Adrian. And every morning I would wake up with Adrian. And she was the one and only person who knew me, That's what it felt like, obviously. Who knew me in my darkest, loneliest hours. She was with me every morning with her soft, sweet voice, with her gentle yoga. Oh my God, the way that she taught yoga. It was also the first time that I was invited into my body in such a loving way, because I was used to working out and pushing myself and always finding the edge and then just leading a little bit over that and then giving it one little more push. But she found a new way of talking to my body, of moving with my body, of listening to my body, of feeling my body, loving my body, using my body. It was insane how she pulled me through that year, actually. Like, I seriously don't know whether I would have survived if it wasn't for her and that sweet voice every morning giving me a reason to start the day and giving me a way to move through the day. Because I'd lost my will to live. I had literally nothing to wake up for, because I also completely underestimated how much this anorexia gave me to live for. I was living for not eating, losing weight, and exercising. So my whole identity and my whole purpose to my life had suddenly just left. Of course, it's not that I wasn't doing other stuff, but this was my main thing. It was my obsession. It was everything I had. It was everything I held on to. So I wasn't really capable of functioning like a normal human does. I was deeply entangled in recovering and finding a new identity for myself. And I found it with her. Her and my body. And I was slowly but surely starting to feel more empowered, starting to understand that there was more to me than just my skinniness or my discipline to keep myself in check, to not eat, my discipline to push through when things were hard. Because that's another part of the whole journey. It's this mindset in which that I genuinely believed that pushing way beyond my own boundary, that's what we're supposed to do. Finding the discipline to go against my own nature so badly that I got myself into infertility. That was what I genuinely felt was the best thing I could do. And I really thought that I was serving the world. I really believed that I was doing the one and only thing that I, as a woman, should do. Which is insane, obviously. I can see that now. But at the time, there was no other perspective available for me. All I could think of was, I got to be as skinny as possible. I got to be as desirable as possible. And I got to be as disciplined as possible. And I had fantasies about how everybody would be jealous of my discipline. And I don't know, it's a disease, anorexia, an eating disorder. It's a mental illness. Something is literally taking over your mind, your healthy way of seeing things and yourself. It's weird. I'm not gonna dive deeper into that right here, right now, but it's a journey. It's a journey. Anyway, back to my recovery. So I found some guidance, and then I quit working in television because that industry was very, very feeding into all of the dissociation and the hurt that I was causing myself, actually. So retreated from that. Every morning I was with Adrian, and then slowly but surely I started to feel that, oh, there's more to me than just fitness or just skinniness. And so I'm starting to build up another sense of self again. I'm starting to build up new desires for myself. And I'm starting to feel that, wow, wait a minute, this life that I'm living and the way that I'm living it is actually not really for me. It's not really feeling very good and it doesn't make me happy. And I don't feel at home here and I don't think I fit very well. But then where do I fit? And I always felt like a pull from the Mediterranean. And at some point, we're now a year and a half later, I decided to give that a try and to just listen to my body where my body feels best. And I went to the Mediterranean and lived there for a while to just feel what's going on if I'm there. And also because there was really nothing left for me in my hometown. I felt completely lost and lonely. And yeah, there was no reason, there was nothing there for me to mine or to explore. The only exploration that I really wanted to do is the one towards and with myself. So I went to the Mediterranean and I found a place in the middle of nature. I just, every morning, I would do my yoga, I would go for walks, and I just started to feel into the softness of my body and then started, feeling myself again, feeling my desires, my needs again. And I was starting to like life again. I was starting to feel myself again and slowly recovering. And as I was doing yoga every day, there was not a day that would go by without me doing yoga. I wasn't doing all of my stern, disciplined exercises, but I was doing yoga, which was also still a posture-based practice. And a posture also invites a certain structure and a certain, like this, yes, that, no. And this is how it's supposed to be or look like or da da da. And I started to feel like maybe my body wants even more freedom, even more softness, even more, I don't know, meanness instead of structures. So I started looking outside the box and I started finding teachers and trainings that were around somatic movement and that were embodiment practices that were not that rigid in their structure or postures, but they were more explorative, they were more fluid, they were more, what are you feeling and how does that feel and how do you then want to move, kind of. And that was all pretty new to me, even though yoga with Adrian was already very much, very soft and gentle and open in that sense. They were still postures that were telling you what to do. I found some very special teachers and I found trainings that really shifted my way of looking at moving my body, loving my body, feeding my body, feeling my body. All those things started to slowly, slowly shift and shift more and shift more. And then where I was in the community, there was a lot of, dance, ecstatic dance, movement plays, games around embodiment. And nothing had to do with what is your body capable of necessarily, but all of it had to do with what does it feel like in your body and what happens if you do this and what if we play with it from that corner or what if we and that playfulness, that openness, that exploration, that curiosity around what does it feel like instead of what does it look like. And what wants to move through me, that portal slowly opened more and more and more. And after many, many different trainings, many people that I'd love to name and praise and honor because they've played, each and every single one played such a huge role in my development and my healing. I'll put them in the show notes for you to connect with them. After I mean, not after, but during, I started to explore and discover the language of my body. And I started to feel, wait a minute, there is a way that my body wants to move. Apart from the trainings and the teachings and there is a way that my body wants to move in the morning, in the afternoon, like whenever I feel like moving or when I feel stuck, my body actually knows how it wants to move. And if I allow my body to move in whichever way it wants to move, I'm finding freedom, I'm finding pleasure, joy, but also confidence and new feelings and emotions and releases and inspiration and so many things that I didn't even know that I had. And so I started to practice my own embodiment practice, which I now call authentic embodiment. And it's basically just taking time out of your day to step onto the mat, or even not a mat, whatever, just maybe even keep laying in your bed. I don't care. But just taking a moment to feel what your body wants to feel and how it wants to move. And that can be anything. You can put on your favorite song, or you can just lay there and be mellow and put on some sad music or no music. Maybe you just feel like in silence, very gently opening up your body and feeling how it wants to move. But that practice it's changed my life, because it's allowed me a space where I decide how I move, and where all the structures and all the constrictions and everything that tells me what to do is out the door. And living in a body in our society that has defined so many rules as to what it should look like, how it should or should not move. And when I'm saying how your body should move, by that I also mean what kind of clothes you're supposed to wear. Also, where are you moving towards? Are you going to work to a 9 to 5, or are you moving your body in a different way, and are you moving to a Mediterranean island to go and feel what's going on in your body? So I'm talking micro and macro movements. It's not only the way we move in terms of do you dare to scream, it's also do you dare to choose a life that is different to the lives that we are prescribed as good. So how you dare to allow yourself to move freely in that space will ripple out into the world, and how you decide to move your body in the world, because we are not aware, so not aware, of how many restrictions there are, not only in the world around us, but in our own heads and in our own minds, in our own belief systems, and inside of our own bodies, because of all of these ideas that we've been taught. They live inside of our bodies, and without us knowing, they dictate the way we move through our lives. For example, very primal or feral moving. It's not really encouraged in our society in general, but I find that one of the most healing, loving things I can do for my body, to really like scream like an animal, or to move like an animal, It feels bloody amazing. But I had to let go of so much fear and shame and judgment in order to allow that way of moving in and through my body. And in the same time, allowing myself to move that way, to make those noises and to take up that space and to be fucking weird. That's really what freed me. And that's really what healed me so, so profoundly. And it's interesting to see how the past few weeks I've felt constrained for other reasons. Long story short, I started to feel constrictions again. And I started to feel like, oh no, I can't move like that. Oh no, I shouldn't. And I hadn't done my authentic embodiment practice for a really long time. A really long time, by that I mean like a few weeks. And this morning, I got back on the mat, put on my favorite song, and I just rocked it. And I just let it all out. And then all of a sudden, everything just came back to life. I felt my life force energy again. I felt joy again. I felt the freedom to move. And I found also my self-confidence again, my self-love. It is all wrapped up in that piece of my body that I don't allow to move. And if I do let it go, that's when it flows again. So that, my dear listeners, is my piece of wisdom for you today. Start practicing authentic embodiment. Start exploring how your body wants to move without any constraints. And also, be ready for quite some emotion to be coming up, because if it's the first time that you decide that you're going to let your body move freely. And by moving freely, I don't mean dance, because dance is still something else. Dance is like there's a beat, there's a rhythm, and I'm gonna comply to the rhythm, which is still some kind of structure that you are choosing to follow. Not to say that you can, because a lot of my authentic embodiment does happen also on a beat, because I just love a bloody beat. But it doesn't have to be with a beat. The point is, a lot of emotion may come up because you're moving beyond boundaries. You're pushing boundaries, maybe. You're stretching yourself. You're allowing things that you haven't allowed yourself to do. So that might be challenging. Maybe shame won't even let you move. Or maybe shame is the one who's going to make you move. Who knows? Whatever is going to happen, I genuinely, sincerely, deeply, profoundly hope that you're going to give this one a try. Because it's really, I'm telling you, it's the best practice of them all. Taking time to feel your body, to listen to your body, and to let it speak. We're so used to telling our bodies what to do. Can we learn how to listen to our bodies and let our bodies tell us what we can do for them? That's a question that you can ask yourself. And that's one of the things that I preach. What if your body leads the way instead of you leading your body? And see where it takes you. If you like the sound of that, I have a YouTube channel. There is a little bit of workout, a little bit of dance, a little bit of free movement. There's a little bit of everything. And you can maybe just start by exploring a little bit there, if it tickles your fancy. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to Love and Liberate. I hope my story reminds you that your body is not your enemy, but that it is your home and your one and only home, might I remind you. And if it touched on tender places, I hope you go with softness back into the world and ask for support if that's needed. And know that I can too guide you on your journey if you want to. You can find my website in the show notes, and all the other things that I mentioned, everything's in the show notes. And so if this episode moved you, I'd love to hear from you too and know what this sparks in you, what other things maybe you would love me to elaborate on, or what other people you would like me to invite to have a conversation with around these topics or other topics. And if you love what you hear, please follow or subscribe so that you don't miss the next one. And you can also share this episode with someone who needs to hear this. And if you want to explore your own embodiment practice, you can also follow me on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my newsletter. All the links are in the show notes. I wish you a lovely rest of your day and of your week. I hope you're there for the next episode. And in the meanwhile, here's to loving and liberating, one heart at a time.